In May, I flew to Jordan for the second time. I was going for part 2 of a women's empowerment workshop, and then I would stay on for a month of travel in the Middle East. The conference was amazing. It brought together people, mostly women, from all over the world who work with some of the most marginalized communities of women to activate change and build agency. It was an incredibly empowering and emotionally exhausting experience. I made close friends from all across the globe, all of whom affectionately referred to me as Erica from America. My role amongst the attendees became something of the class clown, the always smiling social butterfly, a role I often assume in everyday life as well. On the final night of our workshop, in a beautiful courtyard overlooking a waterfall and a natural hot spring, all the participants gathered for a celebration. We were asked to wear our traditional cultural garb. There were jewel-toned diaphanous gowns from Tunisia, festive gold hats from Lebanon, deeply colored saris from India, structured long-sleeve dresses from Jordan, a flowing off-the-shoulder gown from Rwanda, patterned two-piece outfits from Ghana. And then there were the Americans. Not sure of one united cultural tradition, we all showed up wearing black business casual wear. We essentially all looked like we were heading to a job interview or a deposition. Maybe that makes sense for our cultural traditions of capitalism and litigation. I wore long pants with a chiffon blouse over a tank top. The festivities included traditional Jordanian dabka dancers. After spending a little time in the Middle East, dabka is one of my favorite cultural pastimes of the Arab world. Dabka is a type of dance performed either in a line or a circle, with accompanying percussion, chanting, bullhorns, and my favorite, if you're lucky, a sword. The dancers embrace by linking arms or holding hands, and more often than not, it's performed exclusively by men. How tickled I was in my travels when the dancing would start in a pub or a nightclub, and suddenly the place was full of the burliest, broiest Arab alpha males holding hands and skipping around the room. After a few numbers at our celebration, the dabka dancers, all of whom were male, invited everyone to join them on the dance floor. I was tired and finishing a lovely meal of mixed grill, shawarma, freshly made pita, and various Arabic salads. But as the court jester of the bunch, I was called upon to be the life of that dance floor. Now, dancing is one of my favorite activities in the whole world, so I was a pretty easy sell. And I mean, are you kidding me? I took one look at that sword and knew exactly what I needed in my life. There's nothing more empowering than dancing with a sharp weapon. As the workshop attendees made their way onto the dance floor, what was once a space of only Arab men was now predominantly filled with dancing women from all parts of the globe. The dancing was joyous after a long, taxing week. It was a hot night and I had taken off my chiffon blouse, wearing only my tank top and pants. I danced the way I knew how, just simply losing myself in the pure happiness of moving my body to the beat, dancing with my dear companions who had gone through the same emotional roller coaster the past week as I had. And best of all, I got the sword. Surrounded by the company of mostly women, there wasn't a thought of my mind of trying to be sexy or sexual, dancing to attract male attention, grinding to show off my body. It was simply celebration and sharp weaponry. The music ended. I begrudgingly returned the sword. We were all sweaty and smiling, hugging and laughing. I remember feeling a hand grasp my arm and pull me somewhat roughly away from the crowd. It was an American woman from the conference, an older woman whom I admired and revered. When you dance like that, with your boobs hanging out, shaking your butt around Arab men, you're fulfilling every stereotype they have of an American woman. You're bringing shame to America. You're confirming their idea that American women are loose, loud, slutty. I stood there in disbelief, my arm still being forcefully held in her grasp. Wait, is this really happening? How do I get out of this situation as fast as possible? I just finished dancing and I'm sweaty and thirsty. This woman I admire so much is yelling at me. I look around to see how many people are in earshot. You have to get culturally aware. You're staying in this region for another month. You can't act the way you just did. You've offended everyone from this region. Her tone of voice made it sound like every sentence should end with her calling me Chippy. I already wanted to cry and die. A golf ball was lodged in my throat. A rotten grapefruit was stuck in my stomach. I was caught by the teacher, I was caught by Mom. I was in trouble. I was bad. My arm still in her grasp, she pulled me over to a group of Americans talking with a Jordanian woman. I was being paraded around like a puppy who was being housebroken and needed my nose stuck in my own shit. Dina, you have to show Erica how to be appropriate. You have to show her how wrong she is. You have to show her she can't dress like this and act like this in the Middle East. Poor Dina, completely taken aback by this sudden confrontation after such a joyous celebration. She reacted just as I had, trying to smile, nod, placate, de-escalate the situation as quickly as possible. Yes, I will, I'll help her, it's okay. After being told a few more times how wrong I was told to put on a shirt, and finally the grasp around my arm was loosened. I was let go. I wanted to burst into tears. I wanted to hide in a hole. I wanted to jump down the waterfall onto the rocks. But as the class clown, I had to paste my smile back on and continue through the night. The final night of my empowerment journey, and I'd never been so disempowered in my life. Shame is an incredibly powerful emotion. It's devastating. As a loud, outgoing woman, I'm no stranger to feelings of shame, nor am I a stranger to people calling me out on my shit. I'll get swept up in the moment, get excited by the energy of the night, the people, the music, the attention, and I'll commit the worst offense a woman can commit. I'll annoy. I'm seen as a pest, a nuisance, a divisive, offensive, polarizing figure that was supposed to be sweet and quiet and sexy and smart and opinionated but not too opinionated and tipsy but not drunk and fun but not an attention seeker. I unintentionally offend or annoy someone and then get told about how wrong I've been. I then retreat to a shame prison. And the power of the shame prison, what keeps me locked up, is believing that I belong in there. Knowing that I did something wrong, that I fucked up, and I'm not worthy of coming out. The next few days in Jordan, I stayed locked up in my cell. I slept a lot. I could go about an hour without remembering the shame, the humiliation, without feeling her grasp on my arm or hearing her words in my ear. And then it would come flooding back, and I wouldn't quite know what to do. I was told I would offend, that I had already offended. I didn't want to make the same mistake twice. I felt paralyzed. Luckily, I was traveling alone, so I could move at my own pace. Over the next month, I was able to lick my wounds and shroud my embarrassment as I traveled the region, experiencing the beauty and magic of the Arab world slowly in solitude. A few weeks later, back in Jordan, Dina, the Jordanian woman who had been tasked with teaching me how wrong I'd been, invited me and all the Jordanian women from the conference to an iftar. An iftar is the meal eaten at sundown during the month of Ramadan, breaking the day-long fast of water, food, and maybe, if you are so inclined, cigarettes. As sundown approached, the city of Amman would have experienced pre-iftar traffic madness. An already insane place to drive where lanes and seatbelts are simply decoration. During Ramadan, the city was one big traffic jam before sundown as people raced home for iftar. But right before iftar, the city would become peaceful, eerily quiet, as families gathered around the table simply waiting. Then from the nearest mosque, the sound of the call to prayer, and once you heard the Allahu Akbar, iftar began. A sip of water, a bite of a date, some soup, and then a meal. Or for the heavily addicted, a cigarette took precedent over finally having some water or food for the day. We gathered in a restaurant for our iftar with a gorgeous buffet of Syrian cuisine. As folks were finishing their meal, we were graced once again with a performance. All men, this time traditional Syrian ereda. There was a sword involved in this performance as well, but even more impressive was an Egyptian Nora dance, the Sufi custom derived from whirling dervishes. As the one American in the restaurant, I stuck out like a sore thumb, a bald, white, non-hijab-wearing sore thumb. Of course I was chosen from the crowd and brought up to the middle of the restaurant where the performers were dancing. A skirt, the Nora, was tied around my waist and I was instructed to twirl. As I twirled, the magical skirt with sewn in LED lights lit up. Once again, I was the belle of the ball. But nervous to do anything offensive or inappropriate, I was on edge. I was no longer dancing and spinning with joy, but simply to fulfill my role as court jester. My skirt lit up, but I had lost my light. A few days later, I visited one of my friends from the workshop, Rhonda, at her home on the outskirts of Amman. She was so excited to invite me to her home, introduce me to her children. I spent the day playing board games, making bracelets, reading a book about outer space with Saif, Mira, Zed, and baby Jad. I observed the children pray. They taught me Arabic. I taught them English. We practiced our French together. Later, we all sat together for a meal of makluba and salad and yogurt. As we sat, Rhonda reminisced about the conference, talking about how wonderful the final night celebration had been. It was so much fun to dance with you, and when you danced with the Jordanian dancers, we all thought you looked like a professional. We were all like, wow, we wish we could dance like her. You looked like a real Jordanian. Rhonda's words turned my heart into goo. A woman from the region I had supposedly offended, letting me know not only had I not offended her, but I brought a little joy and fun that night. Her words were like the key unlocking my shame prison. I stepped out of my cell from behind the bars and looked around. I realized my shame prison was completely empty. The American woman from my conference wasn't the warden of the prison. There was no one here at all, and I had access to the key all along because I had built this place. And I had put myself in here. In shame prison, I told myself I could only let enjoy for a few hours a day, minimal exposure. I had shrouded myself from sunshine, I had let my light go out. But Rhonda's words reminded me, whether I've made a mistake or not, I don't belong in such a horrible place. Nobody does. And if I have the power to build such a horrible place, I have the power to destroy it as well. I can blow up the prison, bulldoze over all the shame, and I can let the light back in.